test match of fine margins, a test match of fine moments, and in the end, England were finer than India in the moments that mattered. They've taken the fourth test at the Ajit Bowl by 60 runs and therefore the series against India. It had its moments and we will look back at it on our post-match show on ESPN Cricinfo Match Day. Hello and welcome, I am Raunak Kapoor, still with Ajit Agarkar and Nick Compton. Wonderful test match. What is the first thought that says this is where the difference was made?
Yeah, I think wonderful four test. I think both teams have really competed. Both bowling units have been exceptional for both teams. I think to me, Virat Kohli against maybe a few more England batters, maybe especially the middle and lower middle order, scoring runs for England has probably made the difference. While India have had to rely on, Pujara got runs in this game, but essentially had to rely on one guy to bail them out all the time. And it's not possible to win a series. You might still compete in games, but to win series, you need a few more contributions. Rahane really good today, but in general, Indian battings relied way too much on Virat Kohli.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, there was a feeling of vulnerability that if, in spite of that fine partnership in the second session, that the minute Kohli or Rahane get out, then 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 could come quickly.
Yeah, it seemed to be the difference in the series, didn't it? The middle-low order of England completely outplaying the Indian lower order. They didn't quite have the same confidence about them and the same clarity as young Sam Curran did and Jos Buttler, who I think the two of them were the finds of the summer, finds of Test cricket for England's summer, no doubt about it. Those two guys who came into this Test match, didn't even play in the last Test match, have sort of combined and won a Test match for England. So they should be immensely proud of what they've done. It's actually quite ironic, isn't it, that the best batsmen in this Test match, or the best batsmen in the Test match, were Kohli and Pujara, and arguably the best fast bowler was Bumrah. But yet England won the Test match. So it was almost the gritty, frilly bits around the side. And of course, Moeen Ali was the better spinner. But an enthralling Test series. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm exhausted. I sort of feel like I've lived every moment with the players and with you guys. And it's been an absolute pleasure to watch what's been a brilliant Test match.
Yeah, it happens when batsmen don't get runs. It tends to be more exciting. Or rather, when bowlers tend to do well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the conditions have favoured the bowlers.
Yeah.
It's been so difficult for the opening batsmen from both sides to give teams start, to make life a little bit easier for the middle order. The middle order hasn't been in great form, apart from Kohli, really, from either team. I think the batsmen from both teams have kind of let their teams down. You've got to credit the bowlers for it because they made life difficult in helpful conditions, but you've still got to bowl well. So, but for India, it's an apparent problem. I mean, with Pant and who's played 2 tests now, and Hardik Pandya not really doing much as a batsman or as a bowler. I mean, he got a fifer, which kind of held on to his place for this test, but especially as a batter.
And it's something we've discussed about Hardik Pandya, that if he was to pull his weight in this team, he must get runs at 6 more often than not.
Yeah, or turn himself into a bowling all-rounder, which then you can play him as a third seamer, which at the moment you can't afford to do. So the batting just suddenly becomes very thin.
Yes.
With 5 batters essentially, and your 2 openers really struggling. And Rahane's got a couple of 50s, but hasn't had a great series either. Pujara's come good in this test. So you're looking at one guy to bail you out all the time, which is virtually impossible. Doesn't matter how good he is.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's his fault, or I'm not pointing out one player. But if there's a vulnerability in your middle order, and that's where the resilience from England is almost, decided this game. Could you have gone with more insurance with the bat in this test?
Yeah, I think after, I'm sure last test India thought about it. But after that last test victory, they quickly felt that, this is our best combination. I don't blame them. When you've had such a convincing win over a team at their home venue, you think all's good. But again, maybe it's a lesson of what your team needs. A batsman at certain stages in this, I know hindsight's a beautiful thing. I mean, you're sitting here and it's much easier to talk about it. But a batsman, because of the kind of form that the Indian top order has shown, there was just too much pressure on Virat Kohli all the time.
Yeah, well, we are.
And to be fair to him, he's played exceptionally well.
Yeah, I mean, let's not rule out the impact that Moeen Ali had on this test match. So England got their selection absolutely spot on. Nick, now can we make a more detailed judgment on Ashwin and Moeen. We know what Moeen's about, but just the impact that he had, the 2 wickets that mattered today, both Kohli and Rahane both fell to Moeen. Can we say that that's England spinner outbowling India's is one of the main reasons that this Test match has gone their way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Moeen took 9 wickets compared to Ashwin, who, sorry, you're gonna have to forgive me. I can't even remember the last wicket he took. He may have taken 1 or 2 in this Test match, but he was obviously completely outbowled. And just talking on the subject of India's lower order, I think Ashwin should actually bat a lot higher. I've always rated Ashwin as a batsman. I have to be honest. I think technically he's very good, and I think that he's a better player than Pant and the all-rounder as well. I think potentially Ashwin could come up the order to number 6, but that's by the by now, and of course the series is lost. And I thought India really lost an opportunity here. It's easy to push fingers at our Ashwin. He's had a fantastic career. He's won a lot of Test matches for India. But today was the moment. They had England 80 for 6. Don't forget that. They had England 80 for 6. And that, for me, was a great opportunity in this Test match. And, England have shown a lot of character, more than anything. If we're really honest, they've shown a lot of character, a lot of fight, and a bit of grit, which has probably won them this Test match in the end. But Moeen Ali's bowling, having even said himself, having a bit of time out of the match, played a bit of county cricket. It's tough when you're playing as much cricket as these guys are. You do get a bit stale. You do start to doubt whether you're enjoying yourself as much, but great to see him enjoying his cricket. And yes, he bowled well. He bowled consistently well, more consistently than our Ashwin, and that was the difference for me.
I mean, the one thing we've seen from Moeen Ali in this Test match, in this career against India, is that he loves bowling at the Ajit Bowl, and 9 wickets that he's got, like Nick Compton points out, is also the best match figures for England spinners versus India at home, and he's on that list twice. So he keeps good company with Graham, Swan and Gifford, but Moeen Ali twice in that list, right? The point that Nick makes of probably using Ashwin higher up. I'm not sure it's something.
I think it was done at Birmingham, if I'm not wrong. They pushed him up the order, and he didn't quite do well. So then they said we may as well back a all-rounder that we're trying to develop or sport. But at the moment, I think Hardik is far from the all-rounder that India needs. I think his bowling needs to improve a lot. And if he's not going to be one of Virat Kohli gave him the ball after getting a 5 in the previous Test yesterday when they were waiting for the new ball.
Tells you a bit.
Tells you what he actually thinks, where his game is at the moment. He's got a lot of potential, and hopefully for India's sake that he goes on and improves as a bowler. But at the moment he's not there, so you've got to then look at your balance when you go into a Test match. If your batting's not doing well, you probably need a little bit more insurance. Again, hindsight, but the 3 seamers are bowling exceptionally well and getting wickets so consistently and quickly that maybe you don't need that 5th bowler at times.
I mean, we keep going back to that first innings where England were 86 for 6, and then Sam Curran happened. But then in similar ways, you could say that they should have got that was almost wiped out with the runs that Pujara got in the first innings towards the end with Bumrah and Ishant. At what point did this Test match fall behind India? Only in the 4th innings and only in that partnership, or were there other moments, maybe yesterday in the final session, where you felt this is now where you start worrying if you were India? Yeah,
I thought yesterday he let the game drift again. I think both captains were guilty of that in the first innings, where Virat kind of sat back a little bit. Look, Curran's been in the form of his life, so he batted well. But again, you've got to attack with your main bowlers at that stage. New ball, Ashwin bowled at times. Even yesterday, Shami not bowling for a period of time. There's no reason to conserve somebody. He might have gone for a few more runs.
He was the best bowler of that 3rd innings.
And he was the guy, even with the older ball, who looked more like getting the wicket. So, maybe he fell into a trap that the pitch is spinning, maybe continue Ashwin for a bit longer. Might have cost, that part. Look, England batted well, so you've got to give it to them. Butler played a really good innings. But those few runs mattered at the end.
I've heard Virat Kohli in defeats, Nick, and he's obviously he's still got a lot of conviction in what he says and believes in his players. So I don't know how much you read into body language or how he sounds. There was a little bit of gumption at the end of this. He sounded hurt when he spoke to Mike Atherton. He's obviously incurred a series loss. It almost makes you feel like he felt this Test in particular, India were in control for more parts and probably should have sealed the business. Do you get that feeling if you were India or you were Virat Kohli right now?
Yeah, absolutely. He's a competitive guy. You can watch him play his cricket. We know that he came here to win. He came here to compete, and he came here to silence some many doubters about India's prospects away from home. So this would have hurt him, no doubt. I think the conditions were as conducive as they were going to be for India. You know, there was turn, the pitch was deteriorating, and you know, most of the time India's seam bowling have been quicker and have at times outskilled England. So there were a lot of pointers pointing to an Indian victory here. I mean, 86 for 6, and then looking at India in their first innings, 120 something for 2. You've got to see those as two major opportunities for India, which unfortunately they couldn't capitalise on. And you know what Test cricket's like. You know, it's about winning those really pressurised moments and those big moments in the game which can turn. And I think perhaps England's local knowledge potentially, or their stronger middle order, or the bit more grit and determination has probably got them over the line. So I think for England it's a big series win. You know, there's been some criticism of them to beat the number one Test playing nation has been a huge effort, and I think Kohli will be hurt by this, because I think he deep down will think, gee, we had a chance there.
Yes. I mean, that's, you keep going back to that 86 for 6. On the first day after losing the toss, India had to bowl them out a lot sooner. Would have, I mean, as it turned out, England let India score a few too many with those last two wickets as
they're
well.
almost
But
cancelling each other out.
When you have a team 86 for 6 and your bowling unit bowling, or they were bowling as well as and there was enough help on that first day. The ball did do quite a bit than the latter stages of the game.
I mean, these moments you speak of, I think it's pertinent that you say that there are moments that both captains let the game drift. But Kohli is such an intense captain, intense character. The highs of Trent Bridge and everything that's said, it almost seemed like England were, dead and buried before this test. He's ahead in test matches or ahead in moments. Can someone help him? I mean, he doesn't have MS Dhoni in the test team. He doesn't necessarily have an Anil Kumble in do you expect more people to help the captain in his first series in England, or is that something that he just has to pick up on his own?
No, I'm sure there must be enough heads around that group, whether it's the vice captain Rahane or maybe a senior player like Ashwin. I don't know who the think tank is, but
you know what I'm trying to say. The team you played in, so many senior people, it must have helped.
I'm sure it does. Look, I think you make your plans before coming out anyway, but I'm sure there are enough heads, but eventually the captain's got to make the decisions, and sometimes you trust your instinct. Some days it works, some days it doesn't.
Yes, Nick.
I still get the feeling in that team that some of the players are still finding their feet. Pujara didn't play the first test. I don't think he's going to walk back in the second test and start giving advice to Kohli. Rahane has been, let's say, messed around a little bit over the last couple of years and is still finding his feet, finding his confidence and his form. So I think that's something that has to go both ways. Kohli's a very confident character. He seems very clear in what he's trying to do. But I think he might be better pressed to potentially use some of the calmer influences in that team. And I think both teams, actually, when you look at it, are still developing. England haven't quite found their 1, 2 and 3 yet. They haven't performed as well as they can. Sam Curran's come in, Jos Buttler's back in the team. They're still trying to find that batting order, and I think India are in a similar position. Criticisms of the top order as well. Kohli, of course, has played very well, but both teams are quite even in many ways. So I think it isn't a good way. India must take a lot of positives out of this, and that's what Kohli said. And I like the maturity in which he spoke at the end of that press conference. Yes, he'll be hurting, but I think fundamentally this Indian team has come on leaps and bounds. This bowling quartet, the pace that they've bowled, some of the character that they have shown, Pujara's innings, these are all positive signs, and I think there's a lot to talk about and a lot to go forward with too.
We have spoken very little about England. It almost seems like the kind of test that India have lost more than England have won. Or was that an unfair comment?
No, I think England have played the bigger moments better, and that's why they're 3-1 up. I think it has been a very close series, comparative, but England have had a bit more to them throughout their lineup than maybe India has. A lot more people have put their hand up when needed, and that's why the result. If someone says the result doesn't reflect what the performance was, I think they're wrong. I think England's played better in the bigger moments.
Right, we're going to bid our viewers in the Caribbean goodbye now. What an intense test match this has been, but be sure to join us as the 5th test takes. No, the series is gone, but there'll be plenty that Virat Kohli will still want to offer. We assure you that. Thank you very much for watching ESPN Cricinfo Matchday to all our viewers in the Caribbean. Viewers on ESPN Cricinfo, good to still have you on match day as we still look back at what's been a fantastic test match at the Ageas Bowl and still look ahead because we've still got one more, and even though the series is gone, this Indian team is far from throwing in the towel just yet. He loves making changes, Virat Kohli. He didn't make it for this test and there goes the series. He just still did it was understandable that he didn't make any changes, but now with the series gone, is there an opportunity to try a few people? Would you like to see a few players?
Yeah, I mean, I want to sit to have a look at Prithvi Shaw. I mean, again, they probably know better than I am sitting how well he's batting.
You know well Prithvi Shaw, what Prithvi Shaw is all about.
Yeah, look, I mean, he's young still, but why not? Because I don't think, look, Rahul, I'd still give him another opportunity. I'm not sure we are going to get anything different from Shikhar Dhawan, unfortunately. Might sound harsh, but that has been the reality. And I definitely look at, again, depending on the conditions, to have an extra batter. I think there is a Karun Nair who you've picked in the squad as a specialist batsman. Maybe have a look at him, or I don't know whether to go back to Dinesh Karthik. I'll look at Karun Nair if that. Again, it will depend on conditions. If it is a seamer-friendly pitch, would you again want to? Then I still feel if it's a seamer-friendly pitch, your three seamers will get the job done for you.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely tinker with the idea of having an extra batter.
I mean, I'm sure England, like you said, Nick, they still have question marks about them. We've spoken till the cows come home on what their top order should look like, and Alistair Cook should bat at 3. I like that Mike Atherton asked Moeen Ali if batting at 3 could be something that we see more often in future. I wonder if you think that's a good idea, given how much you've advocated for Joe Root staying at 4.
Yeah, I think Joe Root's probably admitted by batting at 4 in the second innings that's something he's going to have to persevere with. I mean, there's no point in him going back to number 3 in the next test match. So I suppose it opens up the question, who's going to bat 3 for England? Look, there's a subcontinent tour coming up. Moeen Ali plays spin very well. He's good in those conditions. So there's an argument that he could bat at 3 in the subcontinent, but I'm not sure he's a long-term number 3. In my opinion, I would stay with what I thought and have Alistair Cook batting at 3, potentially bring in Rory Burns, who's done very well. It'll be his home ground, playing at Surrey. And you've also got to kind of spare a thought for young Pope, who came in for 2 test matches, batted in a position that was pretty alien to him at number 4. You know, do you potentially bring him back in? I mean, it's a dead rubber for England now, so there might be a chance to give 1 or 2 players a little bit more of a look in before the winter comes. I always found when I went on some of those tours, those winter tours, that you expend a lot of energy in the warm-up games trying to get picked. But if England can maybe use this test match to sort of settle things down a bit, look at a couple of other players, it makes their job a little bit more easy come the winter. And might just be a chance to say to Keaton Jennings, look, you're going to play in the next test match, you're going to go on the winter tour, just go out and play at the Oval and enjoy, worry about scoring runs, not trying to stay in the team or get out place on the tour. And I think that brings a bit more security in the top order. I think the Alistair Cook conundrum is one that will probably carry on for a while. Do England make the decision, or does Alistair Cook make the decision? You know, we still know he's a good enough player. We still know that he potentially has a lot more to offer, but that's up to him largely. His numbers haven't been good. So I think that for me, England's top order, their opening partnership does need a rethink. And that's why I think maybe him going to 3. But that's something that hopefully they can work out in the next match.
So there's a chance at Oval we might actually get a 5-day game. Now that the series is over, we might find the pitch a little bit flatter than what we've seen in the series.
Yeah, I mean, we have to only thank Adil Rashid for giving us some glimpses of a 5-day game, which has become alien in this series. As we wrap things up on the show, if you were in the Indian camp now and you look back at all 4 tests, you had moments at Edgbaston, you had moments here, the high of Trent Bridge, and coming into this defeat would hurt, maybe even more so than South Africa.
Yeah, I think because India really competed in all the test matches, apart from Lords, obviously, where they got bowled out in tough conditions on that first morning. But again, you know, there's one thing to compete. If you've got enough experience in that lineup, one great positive is the bowling unit just seems to be delivering consistently. Even though the conditions have been helpful, they've done the seam bowling unit, or the trio rather. And Umesh has only played 1 test, who's sat out. So that's a real positive. There are lots of positives for India. I think the batting needs to come good if they've got to not just compete but win series away.
Right, Ajit Agarkar, thank you so much. Nick Compton, pleasure as always. I'm sure we'll get your thoughts sooner or later again on ESPN Cricinfo. Ajit, you're back in this chair in a few days to cover the Oval Test, which is going to last forever now that the series is done. We'll get, I think we're going to get 15 sessions of play. It'll go right to the end. We hope to have your company for the same. As far as wanting to win a series overseas goes, it still have to wait for Virat Kohli. South Africa done, England done, but one more test to go. All the extensive coverage on ESPNcricinfo.com as well as our official mobile app. Make sure you've downloaded that if you haven't already. We'll see you again before the Oval Test. For now, it's goodbye.